Welcome back. This is the Whiskey Couch in Pretoria, South Africa. My name is GUSTAV MULLER and this is Whiskey Tasting and Food Pairing Review number 118. Today's whiskey, a bourbon whiskey from America. I got quite a few requests to do some bourbon whiskey reviews together with food pairing recommendations. And here we are today, the first one in a short series of bourbons that I'm going to do. The three here behind me, and for today the first one, 1792 small batch. 1792 small batch bourbon from the Barton Distillery in Kentucky. Founded in 1879, and it belongs to, or it's owned by, the Sazerac Company. This particular whiskey, a Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, says it right there at the bottom. And it was previously known as Ridgemont Reserve Bourbon, but then it was rebranded in 2015. It is a high rye content bourbon, which means that in the mash bill there is the usual more or less 70 to 80% corn, and the balance of the grain, which is normally equally divided between rye and malted barley. In this particular case, much more rye than malted barley, so a high rye content bourbon. The grains that are used, apart from the corn, called flavor grains. So their particular purpose is to add some more flavor to this bourbon. So high rye matured in new charred American oak barrels, and it is bottled at 46.85% alcohol by volume right there. So quite a bit higher than the usual 40 or 43%. I've got a nice picture here of the Barton Distillery right there, quite a beautiful place, and that would be the entrance to the visiting center of the Barton Distillery in Kentucky, United States of America. Let's see what 1792 small batch has for us today. So first of all, the color, a deep copper color, and you will see the legs forming on the glass slowly. Deep copper color. Sweet corn syrup with a slight solvent note on the nose. Some caramel and some vanilla, and then charred wood. The fruit that I'm getting on the nose is a little bit of citrus and then some dark fruits, something like prunes and plums perhaps. A little bit of an alcohol burn, 46.85% ABV. Quite a pleasant nose actually on the palate. Quite an alcohol kick on the palate. Sweet notes that includes citrus, and I always want to say some cherries. I'm picking up some cherries on the palate together with the citrus in terms of the fruit notes. The sweet notes, some sweet vanilla custard. Sweet vanilla custard, caramel, and now I'm getting some pepper together with the corn syrup sweetness, some pepper that's emerging now, and wood spices on the palate. On the second sip, some more sweet corn, syrupy notes with the caramel, and then the pepper taking over, the pepper notes and the wood spices. A medium long finish with the vanilla and the citrus, but the oak spices and the pepper definitely in the majority in terms of the elements of the flavor profile, and then also a bit dry right on the end. So let's see what a few drops of water will do. So a little bit more than a teaspoon of water here. Let's see what happens. Right there, quite a bit of an effect because of the water. Very deep copper color. Definitely softer, and now I'm getting some, it's almost as if I'm getting a bit of herbs now. Lovely soft. And the pepper notes are now, it's almost as if it's sweet pepper notes that I'm picking up at the moment. My summary for 1792 small batch, previously known as the Ridgemont Reserve Bourbon, my summary would be peppered caramel, if something like that exists. But that's what comes to mind in terms of a summary of this bourbon whiskey from the Barton Distillery. So all in all, not my favorite bourbon, but quite a decent bourbon. Price wise, around 500 Rand here in South Africa, around 40 pounds, 40 euros, and probably around $45 in the United States. If you want to pair this bourbon with a food snack, then I would recommend that you connect with your food snack, connect with the caramel notes in this bourbon or the spicy peppery notes. So if you want to connect with the caramel notes, then I would recommend something like Millionaire Shortbread. That's got quite a bit of caramel in its flavor profile. Something like caramel coated popcorn can work quite well, or something like peanut brittle with the caramel coating around the peanut brittle. Something that will connect with the sweet corn syrup notes could be some buttered cornbread with drizzled with syrup, or even some corn fritters. Corn fritters drizzled with a bit of syrup, or otherwise a good old corn flan. That is one that my wife prepares, and it is a lovely dish that we normally enjoy with a braai or a barbecue. The ingredients include, let me think, it was butter and sweet corn and flour, and that is basically it, and some eggs. That is how she prepares that, and I am choosing that today. So I've dished up a bit of sweet corn flan, and I'm going to try this with today's 1792 bourbon. I'm going to use this as a pairing in order to cut through the spiciness and the pepperiness to make the bourbon a little bit softer and more pleasant for my personal preferred flavor palette, if you want to call it that. So here goes. It is such a pleasant experience. The buttery, oily creaminess of that sweet corn flan, it just cuts through this, making this whiskey a fantastic mellow experience. A really, really good pairing. Wonderful. Thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for the second in this series of bourbons from Kentucky that I am going to review. Cheers.